The annual Morrison family reunion was in full swing, the backyard of my aunt's sprawling estate filled with the usual suspects. Doctors, surgeons, and medical directors, our family's pride and joy. And then there was me, the failed doctor according to them. "Oh look, Sarah's here," my cousin Victoria announced loudly as I stepped onto the patio. She was holding court with our other cousins, all of them wearing their white coats like badges of honor even at a family barbecue. "Still working at that research facility?" I nodded, clutching my wine glass tighter. "Yes, I'm still at Maxwell Medical Research Center." "Such a shame," Victoria sighed dramatically. "You had so much potential in medical school. Top of your class, everyone thought you'd be a brilliant surgeon like your father." I bit my tongue, remembering the day I told my family I was leaving traditional practice to focus on medical research and hospital administration. You'd think I'd announced I was becoming a street performer. "Remember when she quit her residency?" My cousin Michael chimed in loud enough for everyone to hear. "Poor Sarah couldn't make it as a real doctor." Laughter rippled through the group. I saw my father across the lawn pretending not to hear. He'd stopped defending me years ago, too embarrassed by my career choices to bother. "How much does research even pay?" Victoria pressed, her diamond ring catching the sunlight as she gestured with her glass. "Certainly not enough to afford a house in our neighborhood." More snickers. I took a slow sip of wine, thinking about the offer letter sitting on my desk back at the office. The one that would make their perfectly styled heads spin. "Speaking of real medical work," Michael continued, "I just performed the most fascinating emergency cardiac surgery yesterday. The patient." I tuned out his detailed description of the procedure, my mind drifting to the meeting I'd had earlier that week. The board had been unanimous in their decision. At 32, I would be the youngest chief of operations at Maxwell Medical Center, overseeing all hospital administration, including surgical approvals and staff privileges. Not that my family knew Maxwell Medical Center had acquired 3 major hospitals in the area, including the prestigious one where Victoria and Michael practiced. They had no idea that their failed cousin was about to become their boss. "Sarah." My Aunt Eleanor's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "At least help with something useful. The paper plates need restocking." I moved toward the kitchen, used to being treated like the help at these gatherings. On my way, I overheard my Uncle Thomas, chief of surgery at Metropolitan Hospital, talking in hushed tones with my father. "The merger's happening next week," he whispered. "Some corporate big shot from Maxwell is taking over operations. They're reviewing all surgical privileges." "Surely they won't change anything," my father responded, worry creasing his brow. "Our family's reputation." I smiled to myself, continuing to the kitchen. They had no idea that I'd spent the last 5 years revolutionizing hospital administration systems, making Maxwell Medical Center the most efficient and prestigious medical facility in the state. That corporate big shot they were worried about? They were looking at her. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from my assistant. "Final paperwork signed. Announcement scheduled for Monday." I typed back quickly, "Perfect. Don't forget to send the new surgical privilege review notifications first thing Monday morning." Victoria's voice carried from the patio. "At least Sarah can help with the plates. She's good at serving others." More laughter. I straightened my shoulders and walked back outside, plates in hand. Let them laugh. Monday morning would change everything. "Need any help?" Michael asked mockingly as I passed. I know how overwhelming simple tasks can be for research people. I set down the plates and turned to him with a sweet smile. "No thanks, Michael. I'm quite good at managing things. You'll see just how good very soon." He frowned, catching something in my tone, but I was already walking away. 2 days. In 2 days, they'd all discover exactly what kind of doctor I'd become. Monday morning arrived with delicious predictability. I sat in my new corner office at Maxwell Medical Center, watching the sunrise reflect off the building's glass facade. My assistant James knocked and entered with a stack of papers. "They're all here," he said, barely containing his grin. "Every surgical privilege review notification has been sent. Including to Metropolitan Hospital?" I finished, allowing myself a small smile. "Yes, and Dr. Victoria Thompson's already called 3 times demanding to speak with the new chief of operations. She says it's a family matter." Of course she did. The Morrisons had always used family connections to get their way. Let them stew for another hour, I replied, straightening the nameplate on my desk. Dr. Sarah Morrison, Chief of Operations, gleamed in polished brass. Right on cue, my phone lit up with messages. Dad, Sarah, we need to talk. Uncle Thomas is panicking about the surgical reviews. Victoria, whatever pull you have with the new administration, use it. Family first. Michael, this is ridiculous. I demand to speak with whoever's in charge. I let them pile up, focusing instead on the morning's reports. At precisely 10 a.m., James buzzed my intercom. Dr. Thompson and Dr. Michael Morrison are here. They're insisting. Send them in. Victoria burst through the door first, her designer heels clicking aggressively against the floor. Michael followed, both still wearing their white coats like armor. They stopped short at the sight of me behind the massive desk. Sarah. Victoria's perfectly shaped eyebrows shot up. What are you doing in the chief's office? Where's the new administrator? I leaned back in my chair, savoring the moment. You're looking at her. The color drained from their faces. Michael's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. That's impossible. You're just a researcher. Actually, I replied, opening their files on my computer, I've been running Maxwell's administrative operations for the past 5 years. We've acquired 3 hospitals in the region, including Metropolitan. And now, I met their shocked stares. I'm reviewing all surgical privileges. You can't do this, Victoria sputtered. We're family. Funny, I said, that didn't seem to matter at the reunion when you were mocking my career choices. Those were jokes. Michael protested. We didn't mean. Your surgical error rates. I cut in, turning my monitor to show them the data. They're concerning. Especially yours, Michael. 3 complications in the last month alone. He paled further. Those were complex cases. And you, I turned to Victoria, your patient satisfaction scores are among the lowest in the department. Apparently, being a real doctor involves more than just wearing a white coat to family barbecues. I'll call Uncle Thomas, Victoria threatened, pulling out her phone. He won't stand for this. Uncle Thomas? I smiled. You mean the former chief of surgery? He's being replaced next week. His retirement package is quite generous, though. I made sure of that, since we're family. The reality of their situation finally seemed to sink in. Their perfect world of nepotism and privilege was crumbling, and their dismissed cousin held all the power. What do you want? Victoria asked, her voice small. What I've always wanted, excellence in patient care. You have 3 months to improve your numbers. Regular reviews, additional training, and... I paused. No more special treatment because of our last name. And if we refuse? Michael challenged weakly. I picked up my phone. Then I start making calls to other hospitals. I hear County General is always looking for surgeons. Though the pay isn't enough to afford houses in your neighborhood. The next family gathering was considerably different. My aunt's backyard was quieter, the usual medical bravado replaced by subdued conversations. Victoria and Michael had spent the past 3 months actually focusing on their patients instead of their social status. Surprisingly, they were discovering they were better doctors for it. I arrived late, having just finished a board meeting. As I walked through the garden, people parted like the Red Sea. Amazing how a change in power could shift perspectives so quickly. Sarah. My father approached, looking uncomfortable. We haven't really talked since. Since you found out your failed doctor-daughter runs the largest medical network in the state? I finished for him. He flinched. I deserve that. I should have supported your choices. Yes, you should have. I accepted a glass of wine from a passing server. But it's not about support anymore, Dad. It's about change. Real change. Across the lawn, I spotted Victoria talking with a young resident, actually mentoring instead of showcasing her designer watch. Michael was discussing a difficult case with another surgeon, focused on patient care rather than his own glory. They're different, Dad observed, following my gaze. Amazing what happens when people have to earn their positions, I replied. My Uncle Thomas approached, his retirement watch glinting in the sunlight. Sarah, got a minute? We walked to a quiet corner of the garden. The changes you're making at Metropolitan, he began, they're working. Patient outcomes are improving. Even Victoria and Michael. He shook his head in wonder. They're good doctors, I said. They just needed to remember why they became doctors in the first place. I was wrong about you, he admitted. We all were. Running a hospital isn't just about performing surgery. It's about leadership, vision, and research. I added with a slight smile. He laughed. Yes, and research. The party continued, but the dynamics had shifted permanently. No more mocking, no more hierarchy of specialties. Just medical professionals focused on what really mattered: patient care. My phone buzzed, a message from James. Emergency at Metropolitan. Dr. Thompson requesting surgical approval. I stepped away to make the call. Victoria answered immediately. Sarah, I have a complex cardiac case. Previous surgeon refused because of the risk, but I've reviewed everything. I know I can help this patient. I listened as she detailed the case, noting the confidence in her voice, not arrogance but earned expertise. Send me the files, I said. I'll review them right away. Thank you, she paused. And Sarah? I'm sorry. For everything. After reviewing the case, I called back. Victoria picked up on the first ring. Dr. Thompson, I said formally, this is Dr. Sarah Morrison, Chief of Operations. Your surgical request is approved. Good luck. Later that night, I received another message. Victoria's surgery had been successful. The patient would live. I stood in my office looking out over the city lights. On my desk sat a new family photo from the reunion. No white coats, no forced hierarchy, just family. Real family. My assistant knocked. Dr. Morrison? The board is waiting for your presentation on the new research wing. I gathered my papers, pausing at the door. The nameplate caught the light. Dr. Sarah Morrison, Chief of Operations and Research Director. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about showing them a better way. And sometimes, just sometimes, family can learn to change. As I walked to the boardroom, my phone lit up with one last message from Victoria. Patient recovering well. Thank you, boss. I smiled. In the end, being a real doctor wasn't about titles or specialties. It was about making a difference, whether in an operating room or a boardroom. And I had finally taught my family that most important medical lesson. Healing isn't just about fixing bodies. Sometimes it's about fixing broken systems, broken perspectives, and even broken families.